I think that we're touching something that goes beyond three-dimensional understanding of the world that we all are kind of trapped in right now. I think it's a movement that doesn't need any name, doesn't need really a leader, and no coordinated actions. I think it's coming from within ourselves. I've shared with you this picture many times, but just for the sake of the argument, what I'm inviting everyone is to rethink what we put as our priority. We're focusing our attention and our innovative development research power to tools. I'm inviting us all that we put on the front line society, the way how we connect, the way how we collaborate, the way how we join our forces and participate, the land that we all stand on and depend on, our food comes from there, everything that it's part of our life except our initial body, it's part of the land too. And of course, our collective capacity to understand and to evolve. I do invite you that we dare to think that, yes, maybe it's our mission to populate the universe and to move to other planets. I would especially invite you to pay attention to a couple of words: territory, relationship, dominant culture, and geography. I see the society in a basic nutshell within the definition that we just heard, but the intangible items that keep it together are shared values, shared rules, shared infrastructure, shared megatrends, and of course shared vision, which is very much missing. And then whatever we do, let's ask ourselves, do we act in favor of those shared dreams that we have, those big visions that we have, those megatrends that are being constructed? I would dare to say that I think for the first time, we will be witnessing the emergence of a new civilization from the global consciousness. So far, every civilization came from a particular continent where a particular subgroup, through the innovation and science, came up with something that could use as a dominance over others. I think this time, we will join together, not in order to dominate, but in order to preserve human being. So my questions are, is there a future for countries in this global consciousness? Do we still need countries? Can we see something else, another order, another set of rules that can keep us together? Is there a future for nations? What will be the future for nations or cultures? Are we ready to look at the planet Earth from a galactic point of view? Because usually you find solutions when you step out of the system. Are we creating an android society, or are we creating tools for the maximization of human potentials? What do you think, my dear friends? Do you think we can really exist by just partitioning the entire world, where we're going to build walls and start fighting again? Or is the future in multilateral relationships, where of course you need to have a stamina, you need to have integrity, you need to have some really human values and priorities cleared, that you can negotiate and come up with joint solutions.
I often ask myself the same question, like, do we really need borders? And do we really need to be, these nations? And I think that right now in this current state, we are not ready yet. Not all nations or not all people are on this level just to share our countries with other people. So I feel like we have some sort of phobia, or just we want to protect our country and we are very attached to our land. I think if we share like this common vision, if we really put eco before ego, then this is possible.
I decided to focus most of my attention on the topic of collaboration. A very powerful question that I've always used, it was, what gets in the way? We know deeply inside us how right that is. how it can talk to our heart. And yet, in our day-to-day actions and in our day-to-day way of living our life, we act manuals, we act very differently. I decided to create this hashtag that was good after COVID-19, because I felt an overwhelming need to say, hold on a second, this might be the most precious time of my life and our life as a generation to understand and to really get together and trip the paradigm. And all of a sudden we find at the end of this tunnel, we find ourselves looking at the world very differently. I cannot hide myself. I need to find the source of that good, because I know in this moment of pause, in this moment of incredible shock, where if we experiencing this all of a sudden, all the certainties, all the beliefs that are sort of getting in the way from us to see what Violeta has described, they might vanish. So this is a precious time. What do we need to push humanity into the new paradigm? This doesn't need organization. This doesn't need leaders. This starts from within ourselves and flourish if we let it happen, right? And I can't agree more with that. Until then, of course, when I go in the day-to-day, I understand that we need to facilitate that change. Change a paradigm. It doesn't take 100% of the world. It doesn't take even 90. It doesn't take even 80, nor 70, nor 60. It actually all it takes is a little bit more than 20% of the people. And where does that 20% come from? Of course, it's the inverse Pareto rule that we all know that works everywhere. 80% of the work comes from 20% of the people, or 20% of the effort. But it also comes from interesting other models that tell us how we behave on our day-to-day life. How do we make it work with 20% of the people if we really want to make the change happen? The first is what he called, Gladwell called the law of the few. So a tiny percent of people are accountable for triggering epidemics because of their special gift. If you want the change to happen, you have to recruit these three types of people. He calls the mavens. The mavens are what is called the data banks. So these are the people who curate the knowledge, and they are the one that can explain the best what kind of change you want to bring, and also the one that understand it earlier than other, and they're willing to share. Now the limit of the mavens is that they're so taken from the knowledge and from the topic and from the concept that they're not so good at connecting and doing the spread of the virus. That's where you need the connectors. So the connectors are the so-called social glue. Connectors are the links that span and connect different worlds. They are the master of the weak links. These people have hundreds and hundreds of weak connections. People who have characteristics of connectors, they don't have the characteristics of the mavens. They are two different types of people. And also, they don't have the characteristics of the salesman or saleswoman, even better, the persuaders. So salesmen or saleswomen have the skills and charisma to persuade us when we are otherwise unconvinced. They induce buying decision and behaviors. So these are the people that after the knowledge has emerged and the connectors started to spread the news, they go and convince people. The second part of the law is what is called the stickiness factor. It's no point reaching lots of people if the message doesn't stick. So package the information so that it is irresistible and memorable. It sticks. People who are in charge of the fake news, they are the master of all of this. They know how to play this game perfectly. It has to do really with testing various format and structure of your message with your target audience to see which one stick. The third is the power of context. human beings are very sensitive to the environment or the context we operate in. Through the right setting and social groups, you can influence the behavior of your target audience. So if you want to reach viral, you have to remember that 150 is as far as you can go with your own network, and then you need other people to take that over with other groups of 150, that 150, and that's the kind of ecosystem that you can directly influence, not much more than that. What gets in the way of the desired change? A lot of resistance out there. And some of it comes from Maslow hierarchy. But what does this model tell us? It tells us where people's attention is, where are they looking at, what are they looking at on a day-to-day basis, and why it is hard to invite them to step back from that narrow vision of the world. But until we have so many people that are still stuck at trying to satisfy their safety needs and physiological needs, which means they are in a vulnerable state, it's very hard to engage with them in conversation about theories that says there's a better way to live our life, there's a better way out. It's hard. It's really hard. It's not impossible. It makes a lot of sense. It's just hard, because their focus is in the $200 that they need to get to the end of the month in a good case, and $20 in the worst cases in some other part of the world. So we end up having those conversations in the top of that pyramid of the self-actualized people that Maslow used to tell us. You know how many people live there? 3 to 5% of the people. The main problem we have in today's world is we try to deal with new attitudes, new behavior, new mindset in the same way we would treat new knowledge and new skills. But these are completely different level of learning. If we want to help each other in acquiring new behavior and new mindset, we have to understand that we have to go through very different way of learning, very different way of nurturing conversation, talking about this, and trying to change our own reality.
Is that there is a lot of self-interest being then exercised in politics. So I think political system is the least developed of all subsystems of our society. Politicians don't study, they don't go back to school, they don't dare to challenge the establishments, they try to fit in, most of them. Evolution is not a linear process, but it's sort of a digital. You know, you build the consciousness, you build it, and then just flips over and you are on the next stage. I think that that's what is happening right now. The old establishment is fighting back because they feel that the change is coming. At the end, it will lose. I mean, I'm confident about that, but how many troubles we will have to go through in order to build the awareness.
Effective collaboration is a very, very tricky business to go into. What happens when an individual show up in a group? How does he or she change her behavior just simply by being in a group? It's very, very interesting. There's a lot of studies on how difficult it is to behave and to think for the right thing to say or the right thing to do when you are in a group. A lot of different needs all of a sudden intervene with your brain. If 9 people will say something that is completely wrong, but if 9 of them say that in a row and I am the 10th, guess what I'm going to say? I'm going to say the dumbest things because that's how my brain defend me. Our brain straight away tell us, hey, in a fraction of a second, should you speak up or should you conform? Should you say what is right or should you shut up? And your brain is coded to keep you away from troubles. And because, unfortunately, in most collaborative settings, speaking out the truth, speaking out your heart is rather dangerous. Because we are not well trained to facilitate meetings where speaking with our heart is actually not only welcome, is expected.
I think eco-civilization in my mind means that everyone is standing out, but everyone is accepted. We are accepting everyone standing out. But in that way, still this vision is important, that we all go the same direction. Yeah, these borders. So for example, now that I live in Japan, I feel like European Union, I'm expanding my borders. So before it was Slovenia for me, but now I feel really home to European Union. So I can really see expanding my borders and being connected to the wider area. So I think with this, I think we can then expand even more and more and just, feel all connected.
If the political arena, which is least developed, is the powerful one, and they are the decision takers over us, what does it mean? Do we need more than 20%? Do we maybe even need 80% in that case? Because they have the power, and we've seen that now.
In my opinion, once the 20% manifests in its own impetus, politics will follow, because politics follow. Perhaps. Quantum leadership is started to teach us and tell us that there's something incredibly magical that happens when people reconnect to nature. So that could be a shortcut, or if you wish, the revolution that will destroy all these models in which we're stuck today. If people regain their ability and willingness to connect to nature, and that can be done in multiple ways.
I learned that if you want to progress, you have to go into a spiral shift, which means that you cannot leave anyone behind. So in order for us to move on and to do the quantum leap and to jump into the eco-civilization, we need to bring politicians and politics along. I also learned that responsibility is in the hands of those that know, not in the hands of those that don't know. So I believe that we just have to be self-confident enough and speak out. We have to be able to discuss it. We have to be able to act, and then of course also be confident to vote for those that can deliver what we believe is the right way to go. The change is happening. Just look around and you will see it. Let's go boldly, and let's really go deep.